Assessment submission via Gradescope. First and foremost, always give yourself enough time to make your submission. Never leave it until the last few minutes to submit an assessment. For an open assessment, it's advised that you make submissions at least 30 minutes before your deadline. Unless informed otherwise, do not include any identifying information at all within your submission. For example, do not include your name, your username, your student ID, your email address, and do not include your exam number. Make sure the file name doesn't identify you, and be sure to clear identifying metadata from the document you are submitting. A link to a guide on how to clear metadata from some common file formats is provided in the description of this video. In terms of the file you are submitting, be sure to comply with the assessment's requirements as to what type of file you need to submit. A Gradescope templated assignment will only accept PDF submissions. A Gradescope variable length assignment will accept a PDF or a series of image files. Before going further, it's worth observing here that this video is primarily focused on submission of a templated or variable length Gradescope assignment in the PDF format. If you are submitting to a Gradescope programming assignment submission point, it's important that you carefully comply with the instructions provided by your department as to how to develop and save your submission for successful upload to Gradescope. To make an assessment submission via Gradescope, first log into the VLE and then access the VLE site through which you need to make your submission. We advise using a desktop or laptop computer when making assessment submissions. Locate the Gradescope submission point you need to make your submission to within the VLE site, noting that it's worth making sure you know exactly where you need to navigate to well in advance of having to make your submission. If you are in any doubt as to where you need to make a submission, contact your department for the necessary details. It's important to be aware that Gradescope currently differs from both Turnitin and Ultra assignment, and that you may not see a due date and time displayed with the link to a Gradescope submission point. To make your submission and/or view the due date and time set for the submission point, click on the title of the submission point. Click the Launch button on the panel that appears. There will be a short delay while the Gradescope interface launches. To view the due date and time for your assignment, click on the dashboard option at the left-hand side of the page. The dashboard icon is 3 horizontal lines that have the appearance of sliders. The left-hand menu can be expanded or contracted using the 3-line icon with a chevron at its right or left side, available next to the Gradescope logo at the top left. The dashboard shows the due dates and times, as well as the status, for all Gradescope submission points that have been inserted into the VLE site you are currently within. Be aware that Gradescope displays due dates and times in the same time zone as the university. The time zone is indicated in brackets after the word due at the top of the assignment list. If in any doubt about the deadline, however, check with your department. If you aren't in the same time zone as the university, be sure to double check what the UK deadline translates to in your own time zone. If you have an extension or dispensation to submit after the base deadline, it's also important to be aware, depending on how the submission point has been configured, that the assessment due date and time shown may be the base deadline for the submission, not your extended deadline. Do not worry if the displayed due date and time does not reflect your extension, however. Your personal deadline will be tracked behind the scenes. You won't be penalised for late submission if you submit within the time frame granted to you, even if the submission point indicates you have submitted late. To make your submission from the dashboard, click on the title of the submission point. This will present you with the same options seen when you first entered the submission point. If the submission point was set up to present you with a downloadable document, this will be displayed in a box above the submission options. Click on the linked file to initiate its download. As noted earlier, this video focuses on submitting a PDF file to either a templated or variable length Gradescope submission point. If you wish to submit individual image files to a variable length submission point, please consult the written guidance linked in the video description. If you want to know more about creating a PDF from images taken with your mobile device, consult the Adobe Scan, Microsoft Lens, or Google Docs app guidance, also linked in the video description. For a variable length submission, click the Submit PDF button. The page will refresh to show the page immediately seen when submitting a templated assignment. Click the Select PDF button, browse for the file you wish to submit, and open it to attach it for upload. The name of the file you have selected for upload will be displayed to the left of the Select PDF button. Click the Upload PDF button to upload your submission. For a templated assignment, this completes your submission. For a variable length assignment, unsuccessful upload, you will be presented with a screen previewing your file and asking you to assign where in your submission the answer to each question in the question outline is located. To assign where in your submission you have provided the answer to a question, click on the question in the outline displayed at the left. With the question highlighted, click on the page in the preview of your submission where your answer to that question appears. A small box will appear under the question and on the page preview indicating the association. If you answer more than one question on a single page, assign that page for all the questions in the outline you have answered on it. Repeat the process until you have assigned where all your answers to the questions are within your submission. Note that, if needed, you can enlarge or reduce the size of the page preview images of your submission using the slider at the top right of the area. Click the Submit button at the bottom right of the screen to complete your submission. If Gradescope detects any problems with your assignations, you may be presented with a warning panel where you can choose to submit anyway by clicking the Submit Assignment button, or return to the assignation interface by clicking the Continue Matching button to make additional changes. When submitting a PDF, you can undertake the assignation process after completing the submission. You might do this, for example, if you are close to the deadline and worried that the submission will be late if you don't immediately submit it. Completing the assignation process after you have fully submitted your work does not change the receipt time and date of the submission. If you do want to make your submission and complete the question and page assignation later, just click the Submit button at the bottom right of the interface and then click Submit Assignment when the warning panel appears, indicating that you haven't matched pages and questions. To indicate on what page of your PDF you have answered the questions in your outline after you have submitted the file, or change existing page or question assignations, access the submission point as you did when making your first submission. When your current submission is displayed, click the Reselect Pages button at the bottom of the viewer interface. After clicking the Submit Assignment button, you should see a panel notifying you of successful submission. Click Close on this panel to view your submission in the Gradescope interface. You will now see the first page or image of your submission displayed in Gradescope's viewer. You can access the view of your submission at any time by re-accessing the submission point. If you have already made a submission when you access a Gradescope submission point, you will immediately be shown the first page of the document you last submitted. Use the next and previous page arrows available on either side of the displayed page to navigate through the pages of your submission. Alternatively, if you've assigned where in your submission your answers to each question are, or submitted a templated assignment, you can click on the question links in the outline displayed on the right to navigate to the page or image you associated with that question. It's strongly advised that you always check your submission looks as expected after making it. Check that you have submitted the correct version of your work. Also ensure that your submission is viewable and legible as displayed in Gradescope. If you have submitted the wrong material, or your work is not viewable or legible in the Gradescope interface, resubmit your work. It's important to be aware that submitting the wrong file by accident, or submitting content that cannot be viewed, is not legible, or is corrupted, will not be considered an extenuating circumstance. If your file won't submit or doesn't display as expected, and you are unsure why and in danger of submitting late, make your submission via your department's emergency route. If you don't know what the emergency route is, contact your department to find out. It's typically an email address, but might be to use another online service depending on your department. If you need to supersede a Gradescope submission, for example with an improved version of your work, you can make a resubmission to a Gradescope submission point up until the submission point's due date and time has elapsed. If a late due date and time has been set, then you will be able to submit until this date and time. We do advise, however, if you have already successfully made a submission, that you do not resubmit your work if it is likely to be received after your due date and time has elapsed. To make a resubmission, log into the VLE and access the VLE site through which you need to make your resubmission. Locate the Gradescope submission point that you need to make your resubmission to within the VLE site, and click on the title of the submission point. Click the Launch button at the bottom of the panel that appears, and then, when your current submission is displayed, click the Resubmit button at the bottom right of the interface. When the Submit Assignment panel appears, click on Submit PDF and follow through the steps covered earlier in this video to complete your resubmission. Before we take a quick look at how to view your feedback after marking is complete and feedback has been released to you, it is also worth being aware of the following. On successful submission to a Gradescope submission point, a receipt email is sent to your university email account. Attempting to make a submission directly from cloud storage is not advised. We are unable to easily support students with issues relating to submission from cloud sources that the university doesn't support, and, if contacted, will advise you to download or export your work from the cloud platform for submission using the primary submission method as covered in this video. Use of OneDrive and Dropbox is not, for example, currently supported at all by the university. While Google Drive is supported by the university, it is not supported as a source for direct submission of material to an assignment submission point. As already noted, we advise using a desktop or laptop computer to make assessment submissions, not a mobile device. We are unfortunately unable to as easily support students with issues relating specifically to submission using a mobile device. If you are trying to submit using a mobile device and contact Central Services for support, we will usually advise you to switch to a desktop or laptop computer, especially if it is close to the submission deadline. Finally, let's take a look at the feedback viewing interface. When marking is complete and you are informed that your feedback and marks have been made available for an assessment, click on the title of the submission point and then on the Launch button at the bottom of the panel that appears. This will take you to a display of your submission, which will include any feedback, marks, and annotations that may have been made on your submission. Click on the question links in the outline displayed on the right to view your score for a question, and any feedback provided specifically for that question. If you submitted for a templated assignment or submitted a PDF or images, and identified which page your answer to the question was on, your submission will be navigated to that page, and any feedback, comments or insertions made on your actual submission will be shown on that page. Rather than clicking on the individual question links in the outline, you can click on the Next Question button to step through the questions in the outline sequentially from the currently selected question to view your scores and feedback. Use the magnifying glass icons at the bottom right of the page display window to zoom in or out of the displayed page. To download the original file that you submitted for the assessment, click the Download Original button at the bottom of the viewing interface. Click the Download Graded Copy button at the bottom of the viewing interface to download your submission with your marks and feedback included. Note that if your browser window is sufficiently zoomed in or sufficiently narrow, some buttons disappear from the bottom of the interface, including the two download buttons already noted. To access the buttons that have disappeared, click the More button and select your desired option from the drop-down that appears. Be aware that Gradescope submission points can be flexibly configured by your staff. How your marks and feedback are displayed in Gradescope is up to your department. If what has been made available to you is not what you are expecting to see, you will need to raise it with your department. Good luck with your assessments.